Hello everyone, and welcome back to Powerful Nothing, a Magic the Gathering Cube podcast. I'm your host Dan, known on the internet as 2SweetMTG, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host James. How's it going, man? You alright?
Yeah, it's going pretty good. We've talked about a lot of new Magic cards in the last month, I would say, and we're doing some more of that today.
No, exactly. Well, today we're sort of killing two Nardus with one Soul Spike. Today we're finishing off our Cube set review for Modern Horizons 3. This time we're going to be finishing off things by looking at cards from the Commander set, along with one or two cards that we missed from the main set review. And while we're doing that, we're also going to be looking at the Universes Beyond Assassin's Creed set as well. There will be time codes down below if you want to jump around or jump straight to the Assassin's Creed cards, because I know that those are currently the new hotness. But if ever there was a time when Product Crunch has taken effect, it's probably going to be this one. So by the time this episode comes out, the embargo will have lifted, and I think I can say that at time of recording, I've already done a pre-release for Bloomburrow. So it definitely feels like, yeah, Bloomburrow is right around the corner. There's already spoilers for Duskmorn. We're still finishing off Modern Horizons 3, and there's an Assassin's Creed bonus set as well. So I think things will calm down after this. I think me and James are really excited that our next episode is going to be a regular episode. We're not going to talk about new cards. We're going to have a nice, cool chat about Cube, and it's going to be lovely.
I'm very excited for it, but not today. Today we have new Magic cards, and they actually look kind of cool. I think there's some bangers in here.
No, definitely. Yeah, like I will be honest. Some of my favorite cards from Modern Horizons 3 are in this episode actually. So definitely want to get it done. There's there are some bangers, and also there are some Assassin's Creed cards that I do actually quite like. Like there's some good flavorful cards, and some that I think that will make a splash in a number of different cubes. But anyway, James, do you want to take it away with our first card of the day?
Sure. First up, we have Lhurgoyf. This is 2 and a black for a creature Lhurgoyf. It has star power and 1+ star toughness, as all good Lhurgoyfs do. It has Death Touch and Lifelink. Lhurgoyf's power is equal to the number of card types among cards in all graveyards, and its toughness equal to that number +1. You know the drill there. But also, when Lhurgoyf deals combat damage to a player, you may mill that many cards. If you do, you may put a creature card from among them into your hand. I think this card's pretty strong, actually. Firstly, just lifelink on a Tarmogoyf is kind of sick. Tarmogoyf's already pretty good against aggressive decks, but they can get real big. It's not unreasonable to have this be 5/6, 6/7, not that late into the game. And one hit with that with lifelink is gonna really, really turn the corner against a lot of aggressive decks. So that's awesome. Plus, on top of that, you have this hit trigger that's going to get you some card advantage. Once it's a decent size, assuming your deck is even fairly creature dense, you're probably going to hit most of the time. And it's going to fuel your graveyard. So say the first hit is kind of small, you get him for 2, but then you're milling some cards, and then the next hit will be bigger. It fuels itself really nicely in that regard. And in kind of a really bad case scenario where it's really small, it still just has Death Touch, so it can trade for a pretty big creature still. I'm pretty into this card. Obviously, it's a 3-mana card without sort of a powerful enters the battlefield ability or anything like that, so it does have the potential to trade down for removal. If your opponent fatal pushes this or whatever, you'll feel a bit bad about it, but that's just a risk you take with putting creatures in your cube decks, and I think this is a really good one, actually.
Yeah, I really like this one. As we mentioned with Nethergoyf back from the main set, black is a better color for Tarmogoyf and for that kind of for getting the most out of this and getting it as big as it possible, because because black is kind of the graveyardy color and it has more self-mill in it than green normally does. Also, just kind of the play pattern of black decks, kind of it's very easy to see that if you play this on turn 3, in the game before that, someone might have played a fetch land, you might have played a removal spell or some hand attack that'll put something into the graveyard. This is easily coming down on turn 3 as a 3/4, or as you mentioned, possibly bigger, and just, it's then just upside. I think with a lot of the Goyfs that we've seen in Modern Horizons 3, they're not as kind of like Tarmogoyf being 2 mana and in green, kind of you can just kind of free run it a little bit in kind of green X mid-rangey decks. I do think the Barrowglyph does want to be slightly more in a deck that does want to do a little bit of self-milling, because it is a self-mill engine itself. It will get better if there's other cards around it that are kind of doing that kind of thing. But just generally, I'm really high on Barrowglyph and actually all the Lhurgoyfs in this set.
Yeah, I think it gets bigger, as you say, more as a enabler for a self-mill deck rather than a payoff, I think. Because you can get this to be pretty big by just playing Magic, right? You can put it in your like Grixis deck, you cast a Ponder and a Brainstorm and crack a fetch land, and you're kind of already happy, you know? But yes, I think there is an extra layer of synergy there to enable other self-mill shenanigans, but I think that is optional. I think this can be good without that. Yeah,
definitely. It is just a solid, very splashable beater at the end of the day, I think, yeah. Nice. Love this little Lhurgoyf friend. I'm sure we'll see another Lhurgoyf coming up soon. But before then, we have a card from the main set that we missed first time round. Next up is Crabomination. It is 4 black for a 5/5 creature crab demon. It has Emerge from Artifact for 5 black, which if you don't remember what that means, it is you may cast this spell by sacrificing an artifact and paying the Emerge cost reduced by that artifact's mana value. It has, when it enters the battlefield, target opponent exiles the top card of their library, a card at random from their graveyard, and a card at random from their hand. You may cast a spell from among cards exiled this way without paying its mana cost. So, I think one of the reasons we've had this has made a bit of a splash in the Vintage Cube recently. I'm assuming James has probably actually played this card, so I will throw it back to you in a sec. But just to begin with, I'm assuming this is kind of made some ways because it seems like a fairly decent role player in a lot of different decks. Like, firstly, it's a carding cube, so kind of it lets us cast spells for free. That's normally pretty strong. And kind of, yes, we're stealing them from our opponent's decks, but people don't really put bad cards, 1 in cube and 2 in their cube decks. So you might get a card from them that's not synergistic with your deck, but you're not going to get like a bad card. You are going to be casting a spell that will do something and impact the game. So that part is nice. In terms of like deck-wise, without playing the card as I mentioned, it seems like a solid role player in a bunch of different decks. Like it's not going to be like your top tier reanimation target, but it seems solid. You're going to get your value out of it. It's not the best thing for you to flash in, but again, you get some good value out of it. And then also in the artifact deck, it's not your typical top end, but if you emerge this out off of like a mana rock or something like that, that effect is going to be good, and it is a 5/5 that you can get into play a little bit early. So just all around, Crabomination, name-wise fantastic, card-wise seems pretty solid. James, I'm assuming you might have had a chance to play with this card. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I've played this a couple of times now. I've been really impressed, actually. I think the spot I really like it is in your Reanimator deck. This is kind of the Grave Titan role of it's good to reanimate, but also good to just cast. Like 6 mana in black, which is your main color, is very achievable. In terms of reanimation targets, sure, it's like a little bit below the top tier ones, but it's really not by a ton, I think. You're getting most of the time a choice of 3 cards. So obviously, if they're empty-handed, you don't get the card from the hand or whatever. But most of the time, you're going to get a choice of 3 cards. So one of them is very likely to be like pretty impactful for you. You're also just getting a card out of their hand, even if you don't cast that card.
Oh, yeah. So, okay, that's cool. Yeah.
And a card at random as well out of their hand. So it's kind of like a bunch of times you hit 2 cards. One of them was like Mind Twist for 1, and then the other one was is whatever you actually cast, right? Like, I think if you just compare this something like a Tali, right? I think the trigger is maybe a little bit worse, but honestly not that much worse. Because often with a Tali, you only hit like one thing you care about, right? Like one of the spells, like a counter or removal spell that doesn't line up or whatever. And that card's really good to reanimate. And this, I think, is maybe a tiny bit worse on trigger, but really not a lot. But so much more castable. It's in your main color. You're black anyway and reanimated by default. And it's only 6 mana. You can certainly just put it as... I think you could just put it in like a control deck as your top end. I don't think that would be unreasonable. I've not really found it to be... I've not seen the Emerge from Artifact thing crop up very much, to be honest. Partly because your like big artifact decks are rarely black, and even if you're there, like because the emerge cost is it's actually one more than the mana cost, so you have to be sacrificing something pretty expensive for that to be worthwhile. I guess maybe if you had something like Might Stone and Weak Stone in play, that could be good. But
yeah, I was thinking something like one of the big mana rocks, you're not really going to sack Bolus's Citadel to cast this, are you?
I mean, I suppose once you've run out of life points, you could pay for your Bolus's Citadel. But yeah, I've really liked it in a lot of black decks. I think it's just a great value card, and it gets ridiculous if you start blinking it or cloning it or stuff. Like, it's not legendary.
Yeah. The fact it's an ETB, it works exactly as you want it to. It's not a cast trigger. There's no downside of having multiples. It's just
Yeah, for sure. I have in fact already Abominationed and hit my opponent's Phantasmal Image, and it felt very good.
Gaming thing's nice. And the other nice thing as well that I've just had a quick look. This card is less than 20p.
Oh, that is good.
And I would imagine even Grave Titan nowadays must still be more than that. Yes, Grave Titan noticeably more than 20p. Yeah. So if you're saying it's good in Vintage Cube, then it's probably going to be very good in a Budget Cube as well. And yeah, give it a go there as well. Nice.
Cool. Next up, we have Final Act. This is 4 black for sorcery. You choose one or more. Destroy all creatures, destroy all planeswalkers, destroy all battles, exile all graveyards, and each opponent loses all counters. This is certainly a very flexible sweeper. It really clears up the whole game, pretty much, other than your opponent's hand, I suppose. Having said that, it is 6 mana, and I think that is going to rule it out of the more powerful cubes, because they're just... Yes, the flexibility is great, but I don't think it is worth overpaying this much for. Normally you need if you're getting to 6 mana, you need it to be a card that isn't just good when you're behind. You need it to be a card that can also pull you ahead. And there's also, you can, if you're playing against a control deck, get your 6 drop and it doesn't do that much against a control deck. You're going to feel really mad about it. If you're paying as much as 6 mana in any fair capacity, it needs to be a bit of a banger in more powerful cubes. I think the place I would honestly see this is if your cube is like, you want to give people a bit of time to set up and you kind of don't want to run 4 mana sweepers, then I think this is like an interesting, more expensive sweeper option that you can have, where you're basically saying like, this is just for a control deck, maybe a ramp deck that can actually put some work in to get there. You don't get to sweep the board on turn 4. You're going to give people a bit more time to set up, do their synergistic creature things, and if you want a sweeper, you have to pay 6 mana for it. This is like an interesting option at that point.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, like 5 mana sweepers struggle to get into a lot of cubes, and yes, that 6 is definitely more than 5. Yeah, I agree. This does want to go in a more slower, more mid-rangey style of environment. Like the being able to destroy all planeswalkers, I do think is quite nice. Kind of, I know that like more like legacy and modern power leveled cubes, kind of like working from those kind of card pools, do tend to run more planeswalkers. Like my cube's actually very low on planeswalkers, partly because I don't actually like planeswalkers that much, and I know other cubes do run like 4 or 5 planeswalkers in each colors when you kind of get into those kind of power levels, because those are the more powerful cards that have been printed in like the more in modern times. So the fact that this can wipe them all out is quite nice.
It's really nice as well that there's the optionality. Yeah. Like, this would be so much worse if it said destroy all creatures and planeswalkers.
Yeah,
because often if you're playing this, you're presumably in a slow control deck. Those decks often want planeswalkers. So having the optionality to not destroy the planeswalkers if you have planeswalkers is quite nice.
Yeah, and there are some niche applications, which kind of we won't dive into too much. But kind of like, I believe this is one of the only ways you can interact with experience counters in Magic. You could, if that's like that is definitely more of a thing for multiplayer cubes. If you're running like Merrin and like those kind of things in your multiplayer cubes, this is a way of interacting with that, which we've never really had before. Also, I guess you could if you're really going to kill them with like infect, you could toy with them a bit with this for a minute and remove all their poison counters and kill them again. I have a rules question just in general for this card, James. I don't know if you can help me. If you destroy all battles, if you have a battle given to your opponent, if you destroy it, does it transform, or does it have to be defeated to transform?
I believe that if you destroy it, it goes to the graveyard.
Okay. So the fact they don't flip makes this less fun. I was thinking that there's some cool battle synergies you could do of kind of like the battle deck and you transform them all in one. But if that's not how this works, then that's less good. But like the other thing to say is obviously this card will be cheaper. Like Black has had a couple, but basically like there is like a tier list of Black sweepers, and it's like Toxic Deluge, Damnation, and then what? Where are we? Do we consider the Meat Hut Massacre one? Actually. Nuclear Fallout's been pretty solid, and that's not super expensive. So so maybe actually, the fact this is competing against Nuclear Fallout that's the X black. Each creature gets twice -X/-X until end of turn, and each player gets X rad counters. It's from the Fallout set. The fact it's competing against that, which has actually I think been pretty solid, probably means that even in budget cubes, it's a bit trickier, I guess.
Yeah, you've also got like the Battle Sweeper, which is kind of cool, right?
But does this not defeat the Battle Sweeper, James?
It does, yeah. And it heads up, I'll grant you. I'll grant you. In the 6-mana Black Sweeper mirror, this one is king.
Yeah. No, fair, but no, interesting card. Yeah, if it's cheap and you're in a slower cube, consider it. But yeah, nice. All right, let's move on to a red card. Next up, we have Lhurgoyf. It is 3 and a red for a creature with star power and +1 star toughness. It has the Tarmogoyf Lhurgoyf text, and it has whenever Lhurgoyf or another Lhurgoyf creature enters the battlefield under your control, that creature deals damage equal to its power to any target. I'm probably going to cut this note, but my first note on this is this card.
No, I think that needs to be said.
Maybe we'll bleep it. It's fine. But I really like this card. So the obvious comparison to this is Flame Tongue Kavu, which has definitely had a bit of a resurgence in Cube recently, as even more higher powered cubes are starting to play to the board more. Just having removal on creatures has gone up in value. In a vacuum, there is a world where regular Flame Tongue Kavu might be better because it does guarantee you 4 damage to a creature. But the main thing is that Cube is not in a vacuum. If you play this on 4, you could be getting 4 damage out of this, but that's not guaranteed. But late game, this has the potential to just go to the face and win you a game of Magic. Like top deck wise, when a board is stalled, this could be really impactful because it could come in, deal say 5 or 6 damage to an opponent, and then you have a 5 or 6 power creature in play that your opponent has to deal with. Otherwise, you just hit them in the face again and attack and win. And what I said before, what I said previously about kind of like black being a slightly better color for self-mill, that is true. So in red, this isn't guaranteed that it will be huge compared to black. And I think realistically, this would be best as a Jund card rather than a mono red card. But I do think it will still be fine in a mono red deck. Like if you are thinking of running this in your cube, I know we've said this previously with the Lhurgoyf, but kind of consider running cards that can make these Lhurgoyfs have a bit more impact. So kind of like Tarfire is the Goblin instant removal spell. Consider running that to kind of like the Kindred tribal part of that card is an extra type to make this bigger. Like I remember when I had this before, I had Twin Shot Sniper as a removal spell. It's an artifact creature that can deal something for 2 damage when you channel it. So it's a way of putting extra types into the graveyard. These are things that kind of like with the black one, I think it's a bit more free to kind of get its power and toughness higher. With Lhurgoyf and with regular Tarmogoyf, I do think if you are trying to push them, you do kind of want to think about having as many different types on multiple cards as possible, that kind of thing. And it is also worth mentioning that it also it importantly says whenever it or another Lhurgoyf comes into play. So it gets better, obviously, in a deck that is Jund, that is running Nethergoyf, Barrogoyf, and actual Tarmogoyf. Like, who could possibly forget that it does that part, James?
I don't know, but we can add a video link to the show notes if anyone would like to speculate about that.
Which one of us forgot that Lhurgoyf counts every Lhurgoyf? Was it everyone else, or was it me playing the Dissa Lhurgoyf Matters deck? There's only one way to find out.
It's to watch Dan's YouTube channel because he did it on camera.
Thank you, James.
Yeah, no, this card kind of slaps. This is great. I agree. I don't think it's one for like mono red or red white aggro decks particularly, because those decks mostly are just playing creatures that sit on the board until someone kills them. And this is very live to have like 0 to 1 power on turn 4 in those decks. I just like it in a mid-range deck, though, you know? You want to spread out your types. You should be conscious of that, you know, if you've got... And it's not even just stuff like looking for the weird types, although like Kindred or whatever, although that is good. But even just being conscious in your drafting, like if you have a decision between like an instant and a sorcery that have similar power level for your deck, and you currently have like 6 instants and 1 sorcery, then bias towards the sorcery, because it's going to let you have 1 of each in your graveyard more of the time. But yeah, basically, most mid-range decks where you're playing spells and they're going to the graveyard, I think this card's really strong, actually. Flametongue Carver is actually kind of legit now, because I know people are going to be saying it now, that card's always great. But I think it is. It has got better. It has been, because just more of Cube is paying to the board, playing creatures in the early turns of the game. And when you're playing a creature that kills one of their better creatures and threatens to trade with another one, that's just a huge tempo swing. And this is kind of better than that a lot of the time, because Flametongue Carver does only ever trade with their creature. This will sometimes just blank multiple of their creatures. This could easily be a 4/5, you know, but killed one of their best threats. That's kind of insane. It can also go face, as you said. That's amazing. It can kill planeswalkers with the trigger. And if you happen to have another Lhurgoyf in your deck, that's just gravy. That's great.
Believe me, James, I am going to have all the Lhurgoyfs in my Cube decks.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
I'm probably not putting every Lhurgoyf from the new set in my Cube, but I'm putting a lot of them in. But
nice. There's it's also very nice. Obviously, flickering it's great, or recurring nightmare type shenanigans. Really good with this. Yeah.
All right, next up, James, we do have another Lhurgoyf next. Do you want to take it away with a green one?
We sure do. Next up, we have Polygoyf. This is 2 and a green for a creature Lhurgoyf. It has the Lhurgoyf power and the Lhurgoyf toughness. It also has Trample and Myriad. For those who don't know what Myriad does, I quite agree. No one needs to know what Myriad does. Mostly it does nothing in 2-player. Whenever this creature attacks, for each opponent other than the defending player, you may create a token copy that's tapped and attacking. We don't care. We only have 1 opponent in Cube most of the time. If you're in a multiplayer Cube, I guess this is kind of interesting. But 2-player Cube, it's basically just 3 mana for a trampling Tarmogoyf. It's Lhurgoyf, right? It's if you just want another Tarmogoyf in your Cube because you're really leaning into the Lhurgoyf synergy stuff, then I guess you could put this one in. There is no other reason to put this creature in your Cube because it's kind of medium otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. Kind of like one of the reasons why like actual Tarmogoyf is good. Yes, this is 1 more mana for trample, but one of the reasons why Tarmogoyf is really good is because 2 mana is not a lot of mana, and it's just really efficient. It can go in multiple different decks. Kind of like if you're in a green X deck, there is a world where like if there's a Tarmogoyf in your pool, you're probably considering it. This isn't as free just because, like, effectively this is a 3-drop beta. It's kind of competing against other 3-drop betas. Kind of like, I think this is one where it does need the self-mill deck to exist to be kind of worthy of an include in your Cube. Because if you don't have that, you're probably just better off running things like Bloated Contaminator or Simian, something like kind of like they just guaranteed power and toughness for 3 mana that can just beat down your opponent. I am going to be doing the Graveyard deck. So there's, of all of the new ones, this is the one that kind of like, if I put it in and it came out soon after, I wouldn't be as surprised. Like the rest of them, like Pyrogoyf, Baragoyf, and Nethergoyf from the main set. Those ones I think are slam dunks. They're going to be in my cube for a while. This one I could see running for a little bit and probably cutting and making room maybe later on, just when there's another more interesting 3-drop out there. Because I guess the question is, am I going to mark a pen out the word myriad? But we'll see.
Yeah, that seems valid. I feel like even if you're doing the self-mill thing, there are probably better 3-drops for that deck, you know?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like even just from a like not necessarily from like an aggro point of view, but it's also competing against things like Ramnap Excavator at 3, and kind of like do you want some cool utility, or do you just want like I don't know, I will test this one. We'll report back because the first update will have all the Tarmogoyfs in, and then we'll rein it in a little bit. I feel
sure does trigger a Pyrogoyf though.
Oh, it does. Oh, yes, it does. Again, who would miss that? All right. All right. Next up, we have Bloodbraid Challenger. It is 3 red and a green for a 4/3 creature elf berserker. It has Cascade, it has Haste, and it has Escape for 3 red and a green, and exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. If you do that, it means you can cast it from your graveyard for its escape cost. So this is a very big Bloodbraid elf. Bloodbraid elf still sees cube play. A lot of people do really love that card. And I think this is cool. With this card, you do kind of have to think about kind of like the average outcome of what you're going to be cascading into. Like, yes, the dream is you cast this, you cascade into a questing beast, you swing through with them both on the same turn, you probably win that game. That's pretty cool. But like the Gruul decks that this is going into is also probably running mana dorks. So it's kind of, yes, you could get an impactful spell. Yes, you could get a mana dork. That's kind of the things to consider with this. So you do need to keep the highs and lows in mind if you are consider running this. The escape is also nice. It means that it has a bit of play in that kind of Jundy self-mill take. Like I think most of these guys we've spoken about so far are from the one precon, which does a bit of self-mill, that kind of stuff. But realistically, this is like it's a Jundy card or a Gruul monster card. I do like it there. Maybe not in the more high power level cubes, but in more budget cubes, I could be up for testing this. Like I think this card is less than 50p. If you like Bloodbraid Elf, run them both. Cascade, cast this, cascade into a Bloodbraid Elf, cascade into the 3-drop one. Yeah, why not? That sounds fun.
Yeah, they put this in the most recent iteration of Modo Vintage Cube, which is kind of wild to me. Yeah. I don't get that. I don't think it's a bad card. I don't think it's quite up for power cube standards. But in like most other cubes, I think this is probably kind of legit. Like even if you when you hit anything good, when you hit anything that isn't a mana dog, basically, I think this card's going to feel fine because 4/3 haste is like that's a real threat, you know. The this isn't like you're getting a measly body with your cascade. That's a real card. It's going to apply some pressure. So if you hit a 3-drop off this, you're going to be really happy about it, I think. And I think that makes it like an okay threat. But I think the escape is really nice. Like, yeah, partly in the self-mill thing, but also just, you know, you play against a like mid-rangey or control-y deck, and like I could see them having kind of a hard time with this card if they can't exile it. Because exile 3 of the cards is really not a lot. You can very realistically do that multiple times in a game. If you are self-milling, you could even get to a point where you're like sacrificing it to escape again, you know? But yeah, I think this card's pretty okay. Probably, self-mill great, but also just Gruul monsters is probably fine.
I guess I might have been underthinking the escape part. The fact it is just like a continual kind of inevitable just way of hitting them before and getting an additional card. Like, I can see that. Yeah. I think we're both on the same page. Kind of like, maybe not for the Mitgo cube for too much longer, but if you're a fan of Bloodbraid Elf, probably worth giving it a test. All right. So next up, before I get James to read these, we are going to talk about 2 cards together, and that's because they kind of, the interesting part of them kind of fills a similar role. James, do you want to read Omo, Queen of Vesuva, and then Planar Nexus?
Yes, these are 2 cards that kind of potentially point to a new interesting package that we could add to some cubes. So Omo, Queen of Vesuva is 2 and a Simic hybrid mana for a 1/5 legendary creature shapeshifter noble. It has whenever Omo, Queen of Vesuva, enters the battlefield or attacks, put an everything counter on up to 1 target land and up to 1 target creature. Each land you control with an everything counter on it is every land type in addition to its other types. Each non-land creature with an everything counter on it is every creature types. To be clear here, when it says each land with an everything counter on it is every land type, that doesn't just mean forest, island, swamp, although it does mean those things. It also means cave. It also means desert, gate. It means Urza's power plant. So there's quite a lot of potential applications here. Before we move on to evaluating it too much, we'll also read Planar Nexus. This is a land which taps for a colorless. You can pay 1 and tap it to add a mana of any color. So that's so it's a filter land. And Planar Nexus is every non-basic land type. So this one isn't a forest or an island or whatnot, but it is a mine, it is a locus, it is a gate, it is Urza's power plant. So this is like pretty interesting redundancy for some kind of hard to utilize archetypes in Cube, I would say. Things like gates are pretty hard to make work in Cube generally because you have to commit a lot of slots to them, and the payoffs aren't always there. Things like Planar Nexus are going to be a nice help for that because it's a pretty okay land on its own. Mm-hmm. But there's also, I think where it gets more interesting is the kind of more niche ones. Things like Locus, maybe you could do some Cloud Post stuff. That could be kind of interesting. Having said all this, I kind of think it's all like more cute than good. The Omo making a creature every creature type, yes, fine, but you can just play better shapeshifters. Better shapeshifters exist. So I'm not that excited about that. I think if you're running these cards, it's really for the land bit. I guess the nice thing is that if you get multiple attacks with Omo, then you're really boosting your number of gates or whatever the land type is that you care about. Like, I guess kind of the most exciting one in a lot of ways is the Tron lands, right?
Yeah.
But they're just so hostile. Like, Singleton is so hostile to Tron lands.
Singleton, where you have to draft it as well. Yeah.
Exactly. And just making this, if you have 3 lands that have been given the types Urza's power plant, Urza's mine, Urza's tower, that doesn't do anything. You have to, it's only the real ones that will actually give you the boost of this taps for more mana. All this will do is if you drew your tower and your power plant, but not your mine, this makes something into a mine, which will help the other 2 lands work properly.
Yeah.
As I say, I think it's a bit cute and probably pretty hard to make work. I would like to be proven wrong though.
Yeah. No. I do completely agree with the kind of like the main reason why kind of like I wanted to talk about these cards and talk about them together is because like stuff like the Locust lands and Cloud Post, that is a strong deck in Legacy. Like Tron is a staple deck in Modern, and kind of like a lot of Cube designers are looking at ways of taking deck like a lot of Cube archetypes come from decks that people have built in formats and try to port them over. And like people will have tried Tron in the past and realized that kind of only having one of each of Urza's tower, mine, and power plant in the cube, which someone has to open, they have to draft them, they have to get them all in play in a game to do the thing. Like that is a lot of hard work when you could just, I don't know, play an Ancient Tomb or play a spell that does something. What's interesting with these is kind of like this is another one where kind of like I'm gonna make a mental note of these cards, where if there are more of these kind of effects, because like I think this has been kind of like quite well received, this kind of deck and this kind of idea of mucking around with stuff. Kind of like I've seen some gameplay videos on it. I've seen people play it. It does look very fun, and it is a very cool thing. Kind of like this is very much a thing that kind of like lets you do cool and niche things. Because like this lets you do the Urzatron stuff in Commander, whereas beforehand you couldn't really do that because again it's a singleton format, 100 cards. This being your Commander lets you do it. yeah, I don't think this is there right now, but there's nothing to say. The kind of like the fact that they have templated how and everything land works means that if we start seeing more of them, it could be something that we can do in the future, basically. And it's something I will be looking out for because I do think it is cool. Like if you can get like the Urzatron working with this kind of stuff, or like the Cloud Post stuff making like tapping for a bunch of mana, that is interesting and that is cool.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a world where they explore the design space more and print a really awesome new land type synergy deck in an upcoming set, and all of a sudden these cards get very interesting.
Yeah, no, definitely, and yeah, 100%. What's a sphere? I'm just reading Played on Extras. What's a sphere, James?
No, that's from a very old set, I believe. Let's have a look. There were the Spheres of New Phyrexia.
Oh. They're from Phyrexia All Be One.
Okay. These are not old cards at all.
Okay.
That set sucks. I'm sorry. I didn't read the other words on the card. Do draft about 4 that was absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remove it from my memory.
I guess we never made Sphere Tribal or Sphere Matters work in that draft format. But okay. But this is another one. Love that. All right. We have another land to finish off Modern Horizons 3 Commander. Next up, we have Talon, Gates of Madara. This is a land with the Gate subtype, and it has, when it enters the battlefield, up to 1 target creature phases out. It taps for a generic mana. It has 1 and tap and add 1 mana of any color, so it's also a filter land. But interestingly, it has pay 4 generic and put Talon Gates of Madara from your hand onto the battlefield. So effectively what that means is you can pay 4 mana at instant speed, and it does the enter the battlefield effect. So I actually quite like this card. So just on your turn, without paying the mana, it can come in, it can phase out a creature your opponent controls to remove a blocker. That's pretty fun. That could I'm not sure an aggro deck necessarily wants this, but that is some cool utility for this to have. If you're in a control deck, what's interesting is you can phase out your creature and then cast a board wipe. That seems pretty good, and you can do all that. You can play this and then use it to generate mana and then cast a board wipe. That's pretty cool. But the pay 4 mana ability from this effectively makes this like a channel land, like the ones we saw from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, and which importantly also means that this effect can't be countered. Like it can be stifled, but it can't be countered. Those channel lands like Boseiju and Ottawa and that kind of stuff, they've all been pretty solid, to be honest with you. They are pretty good. And the fact that this one can go in any deck, I think is quite nice. It's pretty good utility. I'm probably going to give this a test at some point.
Yeah, I'm tempted to try this in my cube. I think it's pretty solid. Having this available at instant speed is just gives it a lot of utility later in the game. You can use it to just stop one of their creatures attacking you. But you can also use it to disrupt a combo. They assemble their fancy Gravecrawler combo, and you phase out the Blood Artist, and you don't die or whatever. Can also, but it can just get a blocker out of the way, which is kind of what it's best at, because then you're just playing it as a land drop, and it does that rather than having it instant speed. But it can also protect one of your creatures from a removal spell if you have the instant speed option available. And it is kind of different from I agree, it is similar to a channel land, but it can't be countered. But it's different in that you're not discarding it, right? You're putting it into play. You're just up a land drop as well.
Yeah.
I will say, general note thing on this sort of filter land, I would be viewing this more as a colorless utility land than as a mana fixer.
Yes.
You really can't afford to be, because if you filter mana using this, you are just down a mana. You have to pay 1 and tap this land, and you really can't afford to just be down a mana, especially in the early turns of the game. I think generally, when you're counting up how many sources do I need of this color for your deck, I would generally count this as a colorless land. I would say the sort of exceptions to that are cheap cards that you're looking to splash and stay impactful later into the game. Things like if you're splashing a Swords to Plowshares, well, you're kind of fine to pay 2 for your Swords to Plowshares. Obviously, it'd be better to pay 1, but that's still fine. similarly, if you're, splashing a Time Walk in your red deck or something, this is kind of okay for that, because most of the time you're not casting your Time Walk on turn 2 anyway, so you'll normally just be able to spend the extra mana, and sure, it would be better if you didn't have to, but this is, I think, does kind of count as a blue source for your Time Walk. But it very much doesn't count as like a white source for your Thraben Inspector, because you need to cast your Thraben Inspector early in the game. But yeah, I think this is a pretty solid card, actually. I'm thinking about including it in my cube, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Seems like a fun one. Need to check if I opened one, because I think this card's annoyingly more expensive than I thought it was, but hey-ho. All right, so that does it for Modern Horizons 3. We did it, James. Everything's good, but that's not the end of the episode. Don't worry, everyone. We have more content for you. Well, this wasn't on my bingo card a few years ago. James, we're going to be talking about some Assassin's Creed cards next.
Of course we are. Did you play the Assassin's Creed games?
The first couple I played.
Okay.
I played 1 and 2 when they came out. Then I kind of skipped a couple and played Black Flag, which is the pirate one, which is awesome. Like it's a pirate game. It's not really an Assassin's Creed game. Like all of the Assassin stuff just takes away from the cool pirateness of that game. But that is my favorite one by far, and I haven't really played any of them since then. Although I did actually. So I played Black Flag when it came out, and I oddly played it like 6 months ago when I was kind of laid up for like a week or two.
Nice. Yeah, sounds like a strong choice. Yeah, I remember seeing trailers for that, and it looked kind of cool, but I never got around to playing it. Yeah, I think I've only played the first one, but it does seem like a cool franchise. I'd be down to play more of them.
Yeah, and there are definitely some cool cards in this, kind of like we are definitely sticking to the ones that are good for Cube. There's actually a fair number of cards in here that are kind of like thematically cool that I'm going to try in like my mystery booster at home thing, kind of like the Chaos Draft set I've built, but kind of like the ones we're talking about today, I think could make a bit of a splash, or at least see some play. The first one, James, I'm going to let you take away this one first. This one, do you want to talk about the Capitoline Triad?
Yeah, this is really a card of a dream, The Capitoline Triad is 10 mana for a legendary creature god artificer. It's a 7/7. It has Those Who Came Before. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each historic card in your graveyard. It also has an activated ability. You can exile any number of historic cards from your graveyard with total mana value 30 or greater. If you do, you get an emblem with creatures you control have base power and toughness 9/9. This is kind of a wild card. You don't see a lot of just like random creatures that give you emblems. If you pull off the emblem, it's pretty sick, right?
Yeah.
You don't need a lot of board state to kill them from there. It seems tough though. It does seem really tough.
Yeah, I know.
Because
it's pretty
you have
cool,
to be like the all-in self-mill artifact deck, I guess, and that's just not a deck.
Or big legendary, yeah.
But there just aren't going to be that. There just aren't going to be enough big legends, right?
I was looking like what you have.
Emrakul only gets you halfway down. That shuffles in your graveyard.
I'm thinking like, I mean, what Tasica could kind of work. Hogak could kind of work.
You need so much more.
Yes.
And I don't want to exile my Hogak.
Yeah, it's fine if your Llanowar elf becomes a 9/9, but
yeah. But Hogak is less than a third of the way there. This I don't know. This seems tough. Please beat me with it. It would be. I'd love to see it. But I'm going to be passing this one. I think if it appears in a cube near me.
You are correct. But I wanted to talk about this card because I think this is just like for me this is by far the coolest card in the set. I think like the possibilities of this it is very much a commander card for the vast majority of how it will see play. I do want to mention the main reason I added this is because friend of the channel Josh Firetruck Modo played this in Dredge. I'll put a link to that in the recording. Because he had 4 of these and 4 Hogaks and some hollow ones. and he got the emblem off with this like a couple of times, and it looked beautiful. Like, it's really, really stupid, but that at least made me want to consider it. Like, yeah, I agree with everything you said. Like the reality in Cube, you're not going to have enough historic spells. You're not going to have enough big things in play and in your graveyard to do it. But if you do, that is really, really cool.
Yeah, that video was cool, and there's a Monty Python pun in the thumbnail as well. So go check that out. But yes, maybe leave it for people to punt money away in their vintage leagues. You know,
I am going to try this in Canlander, I think.
Oh, nice, yeah.
I'm trying to build like a red black artifact deck, kind of like a weldery style of deck. But I think just having this randomly in there with a dread return, I think could be fun.
I guess if you're playing a bunch of affinity creatures, they're like overly expensive historic spells.
Okay. Are we getting there?
You're not a self-mill affinity deck. That's not a thing. Yeah, no, I'm still off it.
We'll find it. If you've worked out how to play this in Cube, do let us know on Twitter at PowerfulMTG, where we have definitely posted at some point. Thank you very much. All right. Next up, we have Distract the Guards. It is 1 white for a sorcery. It has free running for 1 and a white. This is the first time we've seen this. It means you may cast this spell for its free running cost if you dealt combat damage to a player this turn with an assassin or a commander. The effect of the spell is create 3 1/1 white human rogue creature tokens. So, firstly, there's a few cards we're going to be talking about today that have free running. Let's talk about that first. There are a lot less assassins that see play in Cube naturally than I thought there were. I did a look. I looked at my Cube. I looked at the Vintage Cube. I looked at LSV's Cube. I looked at Peasant Cubes. The only one that actually sees play is Murderous Redcap, which I did not know was an assassin, but nice to have that there. I think that what effectively means is that this spell does not cost 1 and a white. This spell will always cost 1 white.
There's the best assassin in Magic, Mutavault, of course.
Okay.
But yes, I generally agree with you.
like there are cubes that have changelings, but I don't think that's kind of like that's more of a niche thing where you're going to put them together. Like if I'm honest, you are mainly here for one card that makes 3 bodies in white. And to be honest with you, this is a uncommon that might just be fine. It's going to be solid in like a token go white strategy in Selesnya or Boris, as well as just being good fodder for like an aristocrat deck. Like 1 card makes you 3 bodies, you sack them all, you drain your opponent for 3. That could just be good enough. You do see those a lot of all those archetypes I just mentioned. You do see in Peasant Cube quite a bit, and that's probably where I think this will be a solid in Cube. And that's probably where I think it will see the most testing and most play.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a color shifted Hordling Outburst essentially, and that's an effect that white didn't really have access to before. White go wise token stuff is pretty common in a lot of cubes. This, especially in Peasant, this seems like a really good role player. Definitely a card to be aware of if you're putting like white token stuff in your cube. Not a home run, but yeah, for in the right deck, really solid role player. Ignore the free running cost. I mean, I guess like if you happen to have a 1-drop assassin, then it does get a lot better, but you're just not going to.
No, fair. All right, we have a bird next, James.
We sure do. Next up, we have Sinu, Keen-Eyed Protector. This is 1 white for a legendary creature bird scout. It's a 2/1 with flying and vigilance. You can tap it and exile Sinu, Keen-Eyed Protector to gain true life and scry 2. And when a legendary creature you control attacks and isn't blocked, if Sinu is exiled, put it onto the battlefield attacking. So kind of baseline, this is just a pretty solid evasive threat. 2 mana, 2/1 flying. Very reasonable. And once you untap with it, because obviously the tap ability is still affected by summoning sickness. Once you untap with it, as soon as they point to a removal spell at this, you can just exile it, you get some value on the way out, and then if at any point during the rest of the game you get an attack through with a legend, this is going to come back for free. That's really nice upside. Like, honestly, even just getting the 2 life from the Scry 2 on the way out is quite nice. But most of your white aggressive decks are going to have a decent number of legends in. Just look at the white section of most cubes. There's a lot of legends. Especially if you have other evasive legends. Actually, this is really good. Think about things like Malcolm or maybe like in a blue-white flyer stack. That seems pretty strong. Because I don't think this is mostly something you're going to be doing proactively. Although, you certainly can. If your opponent just taps out, right, in their end step, you can exile this, get the Scry 2, and then just get it back from the next attack. You're not giving up any damage there. So yeah, I think this seems pretty solid. I guess the downside in that scenario is it is once again summoning sick, and you're giving your opponent a chance to remove it. But if you exile it when you don't need to, just get the Scry 2 and then bring it back on the next attack. But this can certainly be a pretty annoying card for your opponent in terms of they're going to feel kind of bad pointing spot removal at it some amount of time, because they're just always at that point going to be concerned, I can't let them get through with a legend, because otherwise they get a really good bit of value. And having all that as gravy on top of a 2 mana, 2 power flyer, I'm kind of into this card.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, I think it's pretty solid. The only other thing I'd add is kind of like, I've definitely tried making like it's sort of a Boris deck, but kind of like it's almost like legend aggro, kind of like I've tried running things like Isimaru. That's a 1 mana 2/2 legendary dog, and Yoshimaru. I think that's 1 mana for a 1/1 that gets bigger when you cast legendaries. Like, you also have a bunch of Thalias, and also you can run something like Mox Amber. Yeah, that's something I tried before, and it didn't at the time. It didn't super get there, but unsurprisingly, they're going to be printing a lot of legendary creatures from now until the end of time because of the popularity of other formats. So cards that care about legendary creatures and do things with them are just going to get better over time. Like, yeah, I think this is a perfectly solid, just value creature that you can run as a 2-drop. But I think there is definitely kind of like there is like a more synergistic deck there that exists. That kind of like it's not in a lot of cubes yet, but it could just be something as simple as just like jamming every good legendary creature that's like less than 3 mana in white and red into a cube, and kind of like that's not that hard to do. Kind of like you replace like Mother of Runes with Skrell, that kind of thing. Kind of like it is quite easy to get a density of those, and this is. This is a reward. It's not a payoff for playing a bunch of legendaries. It is a reward for playing a bunch of legendaries. And like the more of these that they print and the more of these that exist, the better that archetype and that kind of deck will become over time.
Yeah, for sure. I don't actually think it's crazy either to just put it in your powered cube as, cut a Dante Vanguard and put this in. I think it will perform on a similar power level. I think when you look at the white 2-drops in those cubes, I think there's a couple that would never consider cutting, like the Luminarch Aspirants and whatnot. But then there's a bunch that are kind of all, I think, on a similar power level.
Yeah.
The Avante Vanguard, the Intrepid Adversary, Selfless Spirit. I think this is kind of in that range.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
it wouldn't be a bad card to include.
All right, let's move on to who I'm assuming is the big bad of the Assassin's Creed universe. Next up, we have Tax Collector. It is 1 and a white for a 2/2 creature human advisor. It is an uncommon. When it enters the battlefield, choose one. You can either tax, which is until the end of your next turn, spells your opponent's cast cost 1 generic more to cast, or you can arrest, which is detain target creature and opponent controls. Detain means until your next turn, that creature can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. So I think this one is going to be pretty solid in Peasant Cube, if I'm honest with you. It does a lot of what white is wanting to do. It's a decent rate on a boy, like 2 mana 2/2 is good. We like that. It's not a piker. It's a fine blocker, and it can attack. But just being able to, like effectively, this is slowing down your opponent in one way. It's either going to slow down their mana and their ability to like multicast in a turn, or it's going to stop one of their creatures. obviously this gets way better if you are flickering it. Like specifically, I want to be running this with Soul Herder and either just making every spell my opponents cast for the rest of the game cost 1 more, or I want to be just effectively just removing their best creature for the rest of the game with that kind of combination. It's probably fine as a value creature by itself, but yeah, if I'm honest, I think you need to, like, if you're supporting Flicker, I would consider this card. I think it's pretty solid. Outside of that, might be a little too niche.
Yeah, I think, like, definitely for Peasant, I think this card's kind of just pretty good. Because there are times early in the game where that tax ability is kind of just going to feel like a time walk, you know?
Yeah.
Like, imagine, like, you're on the draw, they don't play a 2-drop on turn 2. If you play this, and it's like, well, I didn't have a 2-drop last turn, you probably just took them off their 3-drop for a turn, and they just waste 3 mana. It's kind of great. And then later in the game, I guess you're mostly going to be using that detain ability to get something out of the way. Obviously, yeah, way better if you are flickering it, but I don't think you need to be all in on that necessarily. Definitely in something like Peasant Cube. I probably wouldn't put it in, super powerful cubes, but yeah, Peasant, this seems like a pretty strong 2-drop to me.
There must be a Storm deck in Peasant that this can ruin someone's day with, can't it?
The thing is, it only takes them off it for a turn, right?
True, yeah.
Unless you're flickering it. If you're flickering it, it's game over.
Day ruined. Nice.
Yeah.
All right, what do you think of our next card, James?
Oh, it's kind of sweet. I really want it to be good. Next up, we have a Ballad of the Black Flag. This is 1 blue for a saga. The first, second, and third chapters are all the same. They say you mill 3 cards, then you may put a historic card from among them into your hand. Again, artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are historic. And then the 4th chapter is historic spells you cast this turn cost 2 less to cast. So this is doing a lot of stuff that I really like. It's a lot of card advantage, potentially. It's stocking your graveyard incredibly well. Like, you're seeing 9 cards in your deck and sending at least 6 of them to graveyard. And then it gives you potential for a really explosive turn on the 4th chapter. Kind of the problem is that it's the 4th chapter and it's a 3-mana saga. That's just so slow to really utilize that mana reduction ability. It kind of feels like you need, if you play this on turn 3, then maybe do some interacting, and then you have some combo thing that can kill them on the 4th chapter. That could be pretty cool. Like maybe you're doing some like Mirror Retriever nonsense, and the Mirror Retriever now costs 0. That could be pretty spicy.
Oh, that's hot. Yeah.
Like obviously this is too slow for like streamlined cubes. But I could see in like not like a low power, but like a Durdley cube, where if you're doing some Durdley graveyard artifact nonsense, you're doing like eggs KCI stuff. I think this could be kind of fun. I don't know. I feel like you could have some sweet plays with this card. You could have some sweet decks with this card. Do I think it's very good? Not really, but I want to play the cube that this is good in. Put it that way.
No, yeah. I think this card is really cool. For me, I see this as a bit more of kind of like a crossover card. Kind of like this is all like this is effectively for me. This is a card you run if you're supporting self-mill in your deck and also an artifact deck. It does kind of that makes it a bit nicer because then at least 2 decks are kind of wanting it, and that's kind of where I see it basically. It is also an uncommon, so you could see it a Peasant, but yeah, but I think more than rarity of the cube, it wants to be in a cube where multiple decks can get use out of this rather than just like one deck. Because if it's just like if this is just for your artifact deck, well, there's a ton of other awesome artifact cards that can kind of get in ahead of this. But and likewise, just like straight mill cards, there's a ton that can get in ahead of this. But kind of like there aren't as many crossover cards between self-mill and artifacts. Now I'm thinking about that. There's a couple, but kind of like with that Peasant, there aren't as many, and I think that could be where this could see play.
Yeah, I see that. It's not. I'm kind of imagining it setting up your, like scrapped trawler, artifact recursion shenanigans.
Yeah. So probably worth mentioning how this works because, like, I correct me if I'm wrong, but those are like effectively, is it scrap trawler and junk diver or something like that? So it's the way some of these interactions work is basically you can return cards with is it lesser mana value or
scrap trawler is when an artifact dies, you can return another artifact from your graveyard to your hand with lesser CMC. Kind of a flagship card for this archetype, I guess, is Clan Ironworks, which is for 4 mana artifacts. You can sack an artifact to add 2 colorless mana. You can move a lot of artifacts between game zones for a long time.
Yes, make a lot
your
of
opponent will get very bored. They'll go to the bathroom. They'll go and do anything but watch you execute your turn.
Didn't that famously happen at a GP or something like that?
Yeah. You can do you can get into some interesting loops that eventually start netting you some mana and then kill your opponent is generally the goal here. It's an archetype that is quite hard to make work in Cube, but I have seen it work in Cube. Stuff like I think Caleb Gannon had a really cool synergy cube that was up on Modo for a while that really let this archetype pop off a little bit. It seems like it could be an interesting setup card for that sort of shenanigans, but not one for most cubes, I would say. Kind of the other thing as well to be just aware of with this card is that the milling is not optional. When you cast this, you are locking yourself into milling 9 cards. There will be points in the game where
you shouldn't.
That might not be an option. Yeah,
you shouldn't do this. Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
Nice. All right, next up, we have Ezio Auditore de Firenze. It is 1 and a black for a 3/2 legendary creature human assassin with menace. It has some other abilities that are going to be tricky, but we'll read them out. Assassin spells you cast have free running for black, which, as a reminder, you may cast a spell for its free running cost if you dealt combat damage to a player this turn with an assassin or a commander. And whenever Ezio deals combat damage to a player, you may pay a Wooburg. If that player has 10 or less life, when you do, that player loses the game. So as we kind of discovered earlier, there aren't that many assassins that see play in Cube, unfortunately, right now. So the middle ability, the free running ability, isn't really it. It means a lot of time this is just going to be a 2-mana 3/2 with menace. That there are cubes that want that. I think the one issue could be that this card is probably going to be expensive because this is effectively the 5-color chase commander of the set. So it's probably going to be a bit pricier. But actually, so now I'm reading it out loud. Kind of the Wooburg ability is at least interesting. Effectively, if this deals damage when your opponent's on 13 life and you can make Wooburg mana, you win the game. That's kind of cool.
You also have to get it through, right?
It's got menace.
People are allowed to have more than one creature in play, I hear.
Yeah. Yes, but you're a Wooburg deck, James. You have all the removal.
That is true, yeah.
If I'm honest with you, I think the Wooburg text is a bit of a meme. It's probably not going to happen ever. But yeah, if you want a cheap, aggressive creature, this is an option for you. If you open one and you like Assassin's Creed and you have a cube, slot it in. Why not? I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, 2 mana, 3/2 menace is kind of generically pretty good. Not amazing, but solid. Dan, hear me out, right? You've got a Maskwood Nexus in play.
Oh, James. Okay.
You hit your opponent with this. You then play black and cast your Emrakul.
Okay.
Game over.
Okay, that slaps. I do like that.
Find a cube where you can justify putting in Maskwood Nexus and then try and do that. That sounds great. In reality, this is a 2 mana 3/2 menace, basically all the time. I guess theoretically you could have a domain type aggro deck where you're running Territorial Kavu, Leyline Binding, Rada's Firebrand, all that stuff, and maybe you put that in that deck, and once in a while you get to kill them with the Wooburg ability. But yeah, in general, this is, I think, going to be pretty mid in reality.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, I have run Timeless Lotus in my queue before. That is a 5-mana artifact that just taps for Wooburg. It was not meant to go, it was not added in to go anywhere near a aggressive black 2-drop. But I mean, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, but that is kind of the issue, right?
Yeah.
Is that the decks where you can make Wooburg, your opponent is at 20 and they don't care about a cheap menace creature.
Yeah.
Because I don't think your plan can just be hit them with this 4 times and then activate it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. I have a deck for this in Commander that does look quite fun because it's Wooburg, you can run all the assassins to your heart's content and have a lot of fun with that way. And also that way you'll get the most out of the free running ability. In Cube, it's probably going to be a bit too tricky, but fun card. And also we probably have to talk about Nezio. I think he's probably the most famous of the assassins anyway.
I'll take your word for it.
Unless I don't remember if Leonardo da Vinci was an assassin or not in this game. I know he helps, but I don't think he was directly an assassin.
I'm sure there's a Dan Brown film with theories on it.
No.
All right, next up we have Arbaz Mir. This is a red and a white for a 2/2 legendary creature human assassin. Whenever Arbaz Mir or another non-token historic permanent enters the battlefield under your control, Arbaz Mir deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain 1 life. Listen, you can put this in a red-white deck with a bunch of legends and some artifacts, and you will get some drains off it, and that is fine. I guess kind of the issue I have is that because it's just a 2/2, it doesn't have any keywords or anything, it's going to be kind of hard for it to attack, and is the damage you get off the triggers actually going to be greater than the damage you would get in if you just played a better 2-drop that could attack them, you know? Like, say you cast the 2/1 flyer we spoke about earlier. If you played a Luminarch Aspirant, you're getting a ton more damage, I imagine, in most games than if you played this guy on turn 2, even if you played a legend every turn for the rest of the game. Listen, I think if you're leaning into, I guess that is the home for it, right? The red-white legends aggro thing. You'll get some triggers. I think it just needs a little bit more gas, give it first strike or something.
Yeah, a keyword would be nice. Or like lifelink or something like that.
Yeah.
Because if it dealt with damage. Oh, actually, yeah, it sort of does. But yeah. I get what you mean. If I'm honest, I think I'm a little higher, and it is also an uncommon, so it can see peasant play. I think there is going to be actually quite annoying. Like the fact that it triggers off your bone splitters off your other equipment, as well as your legendaries. It does trigger off a Fable of the Mirror Breaker, James, and I know you love that card. I don't think that's...
I do love Fable of the Mirror Breaker. You're not wrong. Yeah. Sadly, it's non-token, though, so it doesn't trigger off all the treasures. If it triggered off treasures, that would be more interesting, I think.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think it's from my end. I think if you're running this in a Boris deck, I think most of the time, if you play this early, it's effectively going to add up to a free Lightning Helix. Is my guess over the course. Like, obviously, it has to stick around and that kind of stuff, but otherwise, it's trading with a creature. Like, I like this card. I think at Peasant, I would be interested in just testing this and see how it does. If you like it, then you can add some more artifacts in or other legendaries to kind of give it a bit more of a push, that kind of thing. But I think this card's cool.
Yeah, I can see a lot more in Peasant. Honestly, I hadn't noticed it was an uncommon.
Yeah, the set symbol isn't... it's another one that's also a little bit small and a bit hard to see.
Yes, for sure.
All right, next up, we have Basim Hibban Ishak. It is a blue and a black for a 2/2 legendary creature human assassin. It has, whenever you cast a historic spell, draw a card. Basim then can't be blocked this turn, and this ability triggers only once each turn. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. So this is another one that cares about historic permanents. Color-wise, this is much better place to go in an artifact deck, kind of like the last card being in Boris and some of the ones we've seen. They're a bit trickier. Like, Dimir is kind of slap bang in the middle of like where artifacts kind of want to be, kind of like in the Grixis spectrum area, if you will. But yeah, I'm actually really high on this card. Like play this on turn 2, next turn, play a bauble for free, draw a card. This then can't be blocked and attacks as a 3/3. Just keep doing that. Like, that seems pretty good. Like, honestly, this could just... I'm not going to use the words take over a game, but this just keeps getting bigger, keep chipping in for damage. Like, you play this, then you play a Baleful Strix. Like, you draw 2 cards, you're just gaming. Like, that's awesome. Like, I don't know if I'm... Like, you might need to talk me down on this take a little bit, James, but like, in my head, this is sort of a 2-mana Kappa Cannoneer. It's like... It's a threat that grows when you play artifacts. It gets in for damage. It draws you cards. Yes, it doesn't have protection, but it's also only 2 mana. I really like this card. Like, I think this is, of all the cards in the set, the most likely to see play. and I think it has the highest upside and will do the most just naturally in cubes because, yeah, as I mentioned, a lot of Grixis sections in cubes are artifacts, and the fact this will trigger off of other historic stuff as well is cool, but you're mainly here for the artifact synergy, I think.
Yeah, wow. I thought I was high on this card, and then you said 2-mana Kappa Cannoneer. I don't think it's that. I do think it's really good. Yeah, I mean, Kappa Cannoneer is just, it comes in as a 5/5, and you can't kill it. But yeah, I do really like this card, actually. I think the really big difference between this and the, or is it Arbaz, which triggers off historic spells, is this, like, you get 1 trigger and you're happy, right? You get 2 and you're thrilled, and you're hitting for damage. You're drawing cards. It's getting bigger. It does feel like a threat they really need to kill. Yeah, it's not hard, I think, to have enough historic spells to make this card good. So you don't need to be like, I can definitely trigger this every turn. If you get 1 trigger, you're fine. If you get 2 triggers, you're thrilled. But yeah, it does, and it does have the potential to take over a game. Obviously, the downside is it dies to everything, but like, it costs 2 mana. What do you want? I have not a lot of bad things to say about this. I guess only that Dimir slots are competitive, but
yes, as always, yeah, they are.
Honestly, most decks, even if you're not like, I don't think you have to be an artifact deck. I think you're going to have, between your legends and some role-playing artifacts and maybe a saga, I think you're just going to be able to trigger this enough for it to feel decent.
Yeah.
And if you are the artifact deck, I think it's going to be great. It's also nice if you have any historic spells with flash, like Malcolm, which is getting a lot of mentions on this podcast for some reason. Then you can potentially draw on your turn and your opponent's turn, which is cool. But you don't need to be building around it to that extent. You can just, play this, next turn you cast a legend, you hit them for some damage. It feels like if they don't kill this and you played it on turn 2, it's going to get you a lot of value in most games.
Well, just imagine if like you play this on turn 2 and then like on their turn 2 they don't play a creature. You just attack with like even if you don't have like artifacts, just it attacks and it becomes a 3/3 and it'll just start growing and we'll just start like the fact that the cast historic can't be blocked card draw side is not linked like trigger wise or ability wise to the deals combat damage to get a counter on it is nice as well, because you can kind of like, if one part isn't coming together, if you don't draw your artifact, you can still maybe grow this by getting through for some damage. So yeah, I do like this card.
Yeah, I think that's probably the strongest of the Assassin's Creed cards we've seen, right?
So are you saying you didn't have the word Kappa Cannoneer under it, James? Outrageous.
Sorry, they're clearly completely equivalent.
Outrageous.
It is also worth noting with this as well that you do actually have to cast a historic spell. It's not an like Kappa Cannoneer where you make a treasure and it triggers. It's you have to cast a spell, so it's not playing a historic land and it's not making a token. But yeah, it's not a difficult thing to do. All right, next up we have Shay Cormac. This is a white and a black for a 1/1 legendary creature, human and knight rogue. Is this the bad guy?
I don't know. I thought possibly. I thought the Pope was the bad guy in one of them.
Oh, sure.
I definitely remember having a fist fight with the Pope at some point. Unfortunately, the Pope is not a magic card in this set. Pope is not appearing in this set because that would have been hilarious. I would have liked to.
I feel like the PR department might have had something to say about that.
Potentially.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Shay Cormac. Yeah. It's a white and black for 1/1. It has. You can pay 1 mana and permanents your opponent's control lose hexproof, indestructible, protection, shroud, and ward until end of turn. That's kind of nice. That's some good utility. But we do certainly get a lot of threats in cube with some protection on them in some forms. That's good. Whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes the target of a spell or ability you control, you put a bounty counter on it. And whenever a creature with a bounty counter on it dies, put 2+1/+1 counters on Shay Cormac. So this is kind of an interesting sort of growing threat. Basically, 90% of the time, what all that text means is if you cast a kill spell on one of your opponent's creatures, put 2 counters on this. So it's kind of a growing threat for a very attrition removal heavy deck. But it does kind of have to be removal that kills, not exiles. So it's probably biasing towards the black removal rather than the white removal. It feels kind of tough to me to have enough black removal spells in your deck for this to actually be worth it. Because you do need to be triggering this kind of reliably. And also sometimes, you play this and your opponent just doesn't have a creature that you want to point a removal spell at yet. So it's not always going to be able to start growing when you want it to. Obviously, the upside is pretty good. This could get very big very quickly. It's not even limited to once a turn. It's 2 counters per trigger. So there is a world god where you play this on 2, you kill their thing, hit them for 3, you kill another one of their things, hit them for 5. That's great. I just don't know if enough games are going to go like that. And it's generally not going to be great when you draw it later, because you're just not likely to have enough removal spells left in your hand. I do kind of like the removing protection checks. That's a nice little add-on. I just don't know that it quite adds up to something that sort of justifies a gold slot for me. Although it is again uncommon, which is so maybe this is a thing for Peasant Cube, but I'd say not much beyond that.
No, I think that's fair. Yeah, I specifically just the top line of text first, the removing protection. That's something I don't think you have at all at Peasant. I think the only thing I'm sure there are ways of doing it in all of Magic, but I'm pretty positive. The only one that actually sees cube play is Shadow Spear. Is anyone that I think does it? Yeah. Is anyone that I think does it? So that is cool. For me, this, if you can pair this up with ways of repeatedly killing creatures, then that's interesting. So I was thinking maybe Royal Assassin, that's tap, destroy target tapped creature. How do you feel about this, James, in a aristocrat deck with Goblin Bombardment? Because that is targeting, that could be removing stuff. This could be getting massive. That is definitely a build around style environment. But there, I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, it does sound cool. It feels maybe a little bit win more in that scenario, yes, right? Because you've already assembled all your fodder and you're machine gunning down all their creatures. You're probably going to win anyway.
Yes, you could just go face. Yes, that's true. But yeah. Goblin Bombardment is an uncommon as well, which is fun. But I think it's a cool and interesting card. I think just finding the right home for it might be the tricky part of this. But
yeah, for sure.
I mean, yeah, just outside of just black removal spells, there must be something. Yeah, it's finding something else cooler to do with it. I think is where you kind of want to be.
Yeah, because I think putting it in just I've got 6 terrors in my deck is kind of not an interesting build around to me.
No, not at all.
Cool, you drafted a lot of terrors. Good for you.
Yeah. I think it is some kind of repeatable way of. I'm not going to say the reverse Nardu, but kind of repeatable ways of targeting your opponent's stuff and removing them. That's kind of what you really want from this. But it's not immediately coming to me what that combination of cards is. But
yeah, it's kind of a shame you can only get the bounty counters on your opponent's cards.
Yeah.
So it would be kind of cool if you could use it proactively with your creatures.
That would be cool. Yeah.
You do. If you somehow had a bounty counter on one of your creatures and it died, you would get the counters, but you don't put the counters on your creatures when you target them. So
what else puts a bounty counter on things? Oh, okay. We have Mathis. That's a 3-color card. We have Cheval Bane of Monsters. That's one that looks like Jake the Snake Roberts. There is a card called Bounty Hunter. Creature, human archer minion. Put a bounty counter on target non-black creature. Ooh, tap and destroy target creature with a bounty counter on it. How does that work? If it already has a... Okay, yeah, That's the commander deck. We're not building that now. Okay, never mind. Never mind.
This just sounds like a list of things you shouldn't try and cube.
Yeah. Yeah, you're quite right. But let's move on to our last card, which is one I think could see some play. Last up today, we have Hidden Blade. It is 2 generic for 8 artifact equipment with Equip 2. It has Flash, and when Hidden Blade enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. If that creature is an assassin, it gains Death Touch until end of turn, and Hidden Blade gives Equipped creature +1/+0 and gives it First Strike. So even as we've gone over how unlikely it is that this is being equipped to an assassin, this is still effectively a 2-mana combat trick that can go in any cube deck. And kind of like, I know for higher powered level cubes, we're not really at a world where combat tricks are played at all. Like, I might put Berserk in mine because that's a win con as well as a very cool combat trick. But kind of like, in generally speaking, we're not running giant growths in more higher powered level cubes. So this is an uncommon. This is for peasant. This is for more budget environments where kind of like where combat tricks and combat matters is more of a thing that you're trying to push. But in those type of environments, this is 2 mana for a combat trick that sticks around. It comes in and it equips. And then later, if you do want to move around, 2 to re-equip, give it +1/+0 and First Strike, means that the creature will be trading with stuff, and I do quite like that. Yeah, this is one for lower power. Like this isn't going to go in higher power level cubes. We have Jitte, we have like swords of X and Y don't get in anymore. So the chances of this getting in high power level cubes is slim to none. But yeah, and in low power level cubes, I think this is fun. I've actually picked one of these up for my mystery booster at home type cube because I think it seems really cool there. Yeah, seems fun, but yeah, you'll know if your cube can support this kind of power level of thing, basically.
Yeah, I think it's good that we have this one here because there's a real risk we went through the set review and we didn't have a Boros equipment card. And I think this is it.
We had a Boros legend that things when you play. I've got 2 in here, James.
Oh, that doesn't count. Okay, fair. We've doubled up. Fair enough. Because I think this isn't good enough just as a trick, and then you slightly buff your creature later. But if you actually care about just having equipped creatures, or you care about having artifacts in play in your aggressive deck, then maybe this becomes interesting, right? Because if you just wanted a trick, there are much better tricks. And if you wanted an equipment, there are much better equipment. But this is a free-to-equip equipment, which can play as a trick. But if you just care about having equipped creatures, this seems like a pretty good way to do it, potentially. Yeah, outside of that deck, I'm not too interested.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, so that's going to do it for today's set review. Well, before we get you all out of here, I think me and James did just want to have a quick chat on what we thought about Modern Horizons 3, because obviously there's these Modern Horizons sets, they're big, they're impactful. Like I think James mentioned earlier in one of the earlier episodes, they're kind of like they're effectively a rotation for some of the more eternal formats. And to an extent, Cube is sort of an eternal format, and the other Modern Horizons have made big impacts. Like they've definitely like the free spells, like the pitch elementals in Modern Horizons 2. I think made a big impact in the way people are building cubes. Like there's a lot more. You see a lot more free spells nowadays running around in cubes, and that's definitely an impact of Modern Horizons 2, that kind of thing. So yeah, so me and I just want to have a quick chat and kind of round off Modern Horizons 3 as it was. I think in general it's fair to say that this set has been impactful. I'm kind of looking at kind of either cards I'm thinking of adding or have added, and it's around somewhere between 30 and 40 cards, and that's quite a lot. That's like 8% of my cube. That's a fair chunk. Like that could make it the largest single set in there. James, so is there any kind of style of cards or any kind of strategies that you've seen Modern Horizons 3 has kind of really pushed or anything like that? Like I know this set sort of had a free cycle of cards in the Flare cycle. Have those seen much play? Kind of what do you think about the set from that kind of standpoint?
Yeah, I think the Flares are fine. I don't think there are any that are premium cards. I think the set as a whole I've actually quite liked for Cube because I think it has pushed more in the direction of interesting cards than just raw power level cards that are going to be phenomenal in every deck. I think the output of that, the one thing that means compared to something like MH2, which was incredibly impactful for Cube, I think that we haven't added a bunch of like premium cards for, power cube level cards. But I think there are cards that are going to be good in powered cube and in a bunch of other cube and push you to do a bit of work to make them good. I think like the self-mill theme seems like it's got a lot of nice support. And I'm kind of think that's a pretty good thing. There are so many cards in MH2 that were just like, if you want a high power level cube, you kind of have to have these.
Yeah.
And I think this set has been more, here's some interesting options for some interesting decks for some interesting archetypes that you could add to your cube, I don't think there's a ton of like home runs on power level, and I'm kind of okay with that. And I think the wallets of everyone who maintains a cube will also be happy with that, because obviously the rares and mythics, some of them aren't cheap, and I think there aren't a ton in here that people will feel kind of obliged to add to their cube. I think they're more in the terms of, maybe this card to do something interesting, let's add it. I'll say there's a few exceptions. I think something like Ocelot Pride I've been very impressed by. I think that's a really strong standalone card. I've been very impressed by Tamiyo. But again, Tamiyo is more of, a synergy card than it is good in most blue decks, to be honest, but it's obviously better in an artifact deck. And I think more of the cards in this set go in particular decks rather than cards you're just going to first pick because of the power level.
No, definitely. I mean, if you actually just take what is probably considered to be just the strongest raw power level of card in the set, especially in terms of like impact on modern stuff. If you look at Nadu Winged Wisdom, and I'm like, that's like, people are calling for that card to be banned because it's so domineering in modern, but in Cube, it's actually kind of interesting because like you only have one of it, kind of like, and it's not like you're combining it with Shuko. It is your thing of like you're combining it with like Bristly Bill, and kind of like you're trying to do cooler things with it. It's not just like here is a raw power level cool card. There is like still synergies and things to find with it, which is like, yeah, as you were saying, is quite nice. And the other thing you mentioned about the self-mill stuff, like that is for me the biggest takeaway from this set, is there's so many awesome self-mill cards, and it's like it has been a strategy that I've been like really trying to make work. Like James will testify how much I've been trying to make like a self-mill style of deck work in Cube for so long, and it's just never gotten there. It's never been a solid power level. It's just never competed. And just we've got so many awesome tools for it from this set. Like basically, yeah, all the Goyfs, Nethergoyf, Barrowgoyf, Pyrogoyf, like they just tie the room together. Like I'm really looking forward to playing them. I think they're going to be really good.
Yeah, for sure. I think Nadu's a great example, actually. I understand why people don't like it in modern, but I think for Cube, this is kind of exactly the sort of pushed card I want to see, where it's you've got to do a little bit of work, but if you do, you get really paid off. And you compare that to a set like the Lord of the Rings set, for example, where it was just like absolute home run cards that ask nothing of you. Your Orcish Bowmasters, the One Ring, 4 Phalangus, which is just like, yeah, you first pick them, you put them in your deck.
Yeah.
Maybe they get a bit better if you build around them, but you don't need to. Whereas this set has been more cards you might take in the middle of the pack and try and do something interesting with. I actually quite like Nadu and Cube. I think it's cool. I'm tempted to add like Nadu and Lightning Greaves to my Cube.
Nice. Yeah. I'm thinking of doing something similar in mind. Yeah, it seems like a cool interaction that kind of like, it's cool. It's not like going to break the game open, that kind of stuff. Like you still have to draw them, you have to draft them. It's definitely fairer.
Yeah, and you have to put a bad card in your deck to make Nadu work, right? I mean, the Lightning Greaves does some stuff, but it's to really go off, you have to put a card you really wouldn't play otherwise, or you can do it in a more like do it with Bristly Bill, for example, where it's not going off as hard, but is but it's more of a synergy between two accessible cards. And yeah, that to me is a lot more interesting than, oh, look, I drew my 4th Aelingus.
No, definitely. And kind of like from a design point of view, I was trying to keep mine at like a fun power level. I wasn't just going for just raw power level in mine. And I found myself kind of cutting some of those. Like I've cut 4th Aelingus, I've cut the One Ring, because they were kind of like, they are very strong, but they're not actually that interesting, I found. Kind of like, yeah. Like I want, in my cube anyway, I was trying to get to a point where it's kind of like, it wasn't just just draft cards and you have powerful deck. It's kind of, you need to kind of like, at every point, it's kind of, you need to be trying to like combine something or do something, and kind of like, I want you to be rewarded when you do that and to have a good power level when you do that. But just, 4th Aelingus, the One Ring, Orchid Monsters were just kind of like, okay, play this card and you win, you have a good deck, kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a lot of just like individual cards which give you a lot of like Chthonian Nightmare is one I'm quite excited to put in my cube. And there's a lot of interesting build arounds, I think.
No, definitely. Oh, and I guess Chthonian Nightmare is an interesting one, because I think that's one of the only of the cycle of cards that existed in previous format or in previous sets. Kind of like that was the fixed recurring Nightmare. We had a fixed Allure, and there was a couple of other ones. Like Chthonian Nightmare is the only one that kind of really, I think, is seen to made that much of a splash, and kind of I think that's okay. Like it's fine if not every card is for us, and it's also fine if some cards are expensive that we don't want because it makes the packs cheaper. Or it makes the rest of the cards cheaper, that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of okay with that. All right, that brings us to the end of Modern Horizons 3. And do remember to follow the podcast, give us a 5-star review, follow us on Twitter, where again, we definitely will post at some point in the foreseeable future. James, pleasure as always, man. Thank you very much.
Always good.
Marvelous. Just leaves to thank you all very much for watching. It's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from James. Until next time, we'll see you all soon. Goodbye.